an all-encompassing rain that threatens to corrupt all it touches. A doll gifted life just as it's brutally taken from another. And an old Japanese myth that underlies her story. I welcome you, Nightfarers, to join me, Zaif the Scholar, as I explain the story of the Revenant, how and why she came to be, and discuss a famous Japanese urban legend that may have inspired her dark past. Let's talk about it. So in order to understand who the Revenant is and what she represents to Nightreign's story, we should probably start by discussing what her name means. The word Revenant refers to an entity, usually with a corporeal body, that returns to the world of the living from the dead. But unlike zombies, which are usually depicted as mindless beings driven by hunger, Revenants are often more mindful, and return for the purpose of seeking retribution, or handling some other unfinished business. Looking at the Japanese version of the game, we can see that this focus on vengeance is even more emphasized, as the Revenant is referred to as a fukushusha, which roughly translates to a person seeking revenge or an avenger. But the reasons why the Revenant wants revenge aren't immediately clear. We first encounter her by purchasing a besmirched frame from the Small Jar Bazaar merchant. Its description reads, "A small frame that is missing its picture. Whatever precious memory it once enshrined, now is home to only dust and grime. A voice is heard that beckons one to seek the owner, peer into this window, and revisit the first glimpse of night." This frame, its picture in a shrouded and unseeable state, serves as an obvious metaphor for the Revenant's clouded past, which we can begin to delve into through her remembrance journal entries. Entry 1 reads, "Trying to escape from the encroachment of the night, I awoke. Checking my joints, I traced my way through clouded memories. But where was I? And why did the air smell of must and mold? I needed to know what was going on. That is where I decided to begin." So in short, like the other Nightfarers, the Revenant seems to have simply awoken in the shrouded Round Table hold, with no memory of how or why she's there. And for some strange reason, the other Nightfarers don't seem to take to her glowing personality right away.
This place reeks of failure.
Do understand, there are those who would still rather keep their guard up around you for now. But I hope that won't be the case for long.
The Guardian, however, extends a helping wing and an opportunity for the Revenant to gain their trust.
How are you feeling? There are some who are wary of your companionship, but your intent was not much different from our own. I have no mind to doubt you, and I'm honored to fight on the same side. That said, you do well to show you are trustworthy. I could give you a job to prove yourself. I may be old-fashioned, but actions speak louder than words. Without delay, I want you to retrieve a weapon wielded by the forces of night. Their fierceness is compounded by the strength of their arms. But with a proper understanding of their tools, I can fend them off with my shield. It needn't be a perfect specimen. Even a fragment of a blade will do. I leave it in your hands.
After working to conquer the Night Lord Tricephalos, she brings the Guardian a blade of night fragment, and slowly builds her bond with the others as her memory slowly returns. Remembrance Entry 2 reads, "As I have fought alongside the others of the Round Table hold, some of the fog surrounding my memories has lifted. I look in the mirror. I remember my name is Daphne, daughter of the prestigious House of Northern Croft, a family of master puppeteers. But then, upon the day of a fearsome storm, the night swallowed the entirety of the family estate. It was on that day that I became the Revenant, taking on the figure of this doll. So it seems that the Revenant believes her soul is that of a Daphne Northernecroft, whose estate was overrun with the reign of night. And we can surmise that the doll's body was the work of one of the artisans in her family, and from here her memories seem to get clearer still. Journal entry 3 reads, "Though my form is that of a doll, yet do I dream. Upon the night of the storm, nothing stirs within the estate, except for me, now inhabiting the unfamiliar body of a doll, aimlessly prowling the grounds. Then something strokes my cheek. It is ever at this point that the dream is cut short. I awaken and look in the mirror, so I can make sure of the sensations running through me. Are my dreams not enough that you desire more? Black streaks have appeared on my cheeks. It seems I'm cherished by the night indeed, to think it would still give chase, even in this doll's frame. So something that people noticed right away when the Revenant was first revealed with this concept art is that her face is cracked and deteriorating. And indeed, this is also something apparent on her in-game model, along with other signs of decay. But we also learn that we're not even seeing the full extent of it. Journal entry 4 reads, "In the mirror I conceal the ways in which the night eats away at me. As I apply the cosmetics given to me by the Iron Menial, I recall his words to me. Within your memories is a hole of not inconsequential size. It seems that the night is using this toehold to take root. The recluse was the one who made this observation, but I know not how much she is worth my trust. That aside, I cannot grow accustomed to applying makeup with my own hand. Back at home, someone would have done it for me. The task finally complete, I caress the smoothness of my cheeks. Now I come to think of it. What was the name I gave this doll?" So as it turns out, with a little help from the Iron Menial, the Revenant is able to conceal the extent of the corruption eating away at her body. And so the cracks we see in her face are perhaps the cracking of this layer of makeup, rather than the porcelain of the doll's face, which could also explain why the corruption on her leg looks so different by comparison. But in any case, it's clear that it's quickly becoming a problem she can no longer hide. Entry 5 reads, "I look into the mirror. The night eats away more and more. Pitiful. She was my darling baby, carved by my grandfather. I called her by a name, but I don't know if I'll ever recall it now. Instead, I stroke her face. I must find a way to purge my body of the night that is nesting within. In that case, I believe the priestess."
Listen carefully. Your condition, the contamination, it's spreading. If it continues, you'll be swallowed by the night again. You must conquer this fear of the night.
After conferring with the Duchess, we learn that it's in fact the recluse, who may be able to offer us some assistance. Standing near the Revenant's favorite bench within the small wood outside the Round Table hold, she offers to help the Revenant uncover her past.
"The night within thee hath begun to fester. Whether or not it can be kept in check is entirely dependent upon thee. Please sit when thou art sure of mine."
Closing her eyes, the Revenant finds herself in the Northernecroft estate. A fine mansion with stained glass windows and ornate decor. Proceeding down the hallway, we find a portrait depicting Edgar Blackcoat Northernecroft, esteemed patron of the House Northernecroft, and who we can assume may have been the artisan who originally crafted the Revenant's current doll body. And through this hallway, we find a finely furnished room with a huge stained glass window, next to which is seated a doll identical to the one the Revenant currently occupies. We then come face to face with the embodiment of the corruption eating away at the Revenant's body. and overcoming this corruption uncovers a memory that calls into question what we've believed so far about the Revenant's true identity. Remembrance Journal Entry 6 reads, "Dolls too have their dreams. This I know. The daughter of the house softly caresses my cheeks. Let's put on a little makeup, Daphne. I always liked having my makeup done." And so here the plot thickens a bit. Although the Revenant has until now believed herself to be named Daphne Northerncroft, we learn that the full picture is a bit more convoluted, as it's revealed that Daphne is in fact the name of the doll, not the human girl to whom she belonged. And Revenant further expresses feelings and sensations from the doll's perspective, of enjoying having her makeup done. So is the Revenant the doll's owner, or is the Revenant the doll herself? Remembrance Journal Entry 7 continues, "I caress the cheeks of the face that looks back from the mirror. These fingers have not the warmth, nor the softness I expect. It seems I must face again what transpired upon that stormy night." So much like the last journal entry, these memories that are returning are not from the perspective of the girl applying the makeup to the doll, but rather of the doll itself, who's recalling the warmth of human hands, in contrast with the doll hands the Revenant currently possesses. Uncovering the full truth, however, is going to take more time, and time is of the essence, as the Revenant's body is now becoming more and more visibly consumed by the Night's corruption. Luckily, though, through their shared struggle against the Night Lords, she and the Recluse have by now formed a bond, and the latter again offers a helping hand in bringing the Revenant back to that fateful night.
Dolly dear, thou shouldst by now have ascertained that which thou must face. Yes, a fine girl thou art. Please, sit. Close thine eyes. Find the thing thou hast hidden.
She again awakens in the Northerncroft manor. But this time everything is more twisted. A thunderstorm rages outside, with cracks of lightning periodically illuminating the stained glass windows. Making her way down the hallway, the portrait of the Northerncroft patron is now splattered with fresh blood. Proceeding into the next room, a pool of blood lies on the floor near the large window. But before we can inspect this room further, another Revenant rears its ugly head. Foe dispatched, we can finally bear witness to what happened in the Revenant's past, via what in my opinion is one of the most horrific cutscenes FromSoft has ever created. We see a smashed window, where someone seems to have forcibly entered, making their way out from the raging rain of the night. We can see from the bluish particles that waft their way in that this is indeed the rain that we're all too familiar with now. The wall on the window is covered in blood. It's unclear who it belongs to. In the inner chamber, more blood on the large stained glass window from before. We hear screams. Then, nothing more than the sounds of flesh being bludgeoned. A man seemingly in a frenzied rage uses a blunt object to repeatedly smash what now must surely be a corpse. Near the doll, seated in its chair, a young girl silently cowers and hides in fear behind a bookshelf. But an object falls and startles her. She lets out a scream. Perhaps he didn't hear. Maybe if she just sits quietly, the man will leave. Fate would unfortunately not be so kind. The Northerncroft girl is grabbed and beaten. The doll falls to the floor in the ensuing struggle, her unblinking eyes forced to witness the girl's final, brutal moments. Briefly and subtly, the doll's fingers twitch, then her hand begins to reach towards the girl. But it's too little, too late. The Revenant awakens next to the slain girl, taking the small portrait she carried with her as a memento. She makes her way down the blood-stained corridors, her first steps towards getting revenge on the ones responsible for this tragedy. The Revenant awakens, with the corruption lifted from her body. She finally remembers who she is and why it is that she fights.
Thou art good to thy word, my dear. Though scattered thou wast, thou art now whole. All is well.
The description of the old portrait she takes with her states, an intricate painting of a girl of pure heart and an elderly companion that conveys both trust and affection. On that night, the doll understood the young girl wished to live, and with that understanding, the doll found her purpose. On the back of the painting is a hurriedly scrawled, fading message. Chloe, seek happiness, for you deserve it more than anyone. And so it's from this item that we can gather that the slain girl was in fact named Chloe, solidifying the fact that Daphne is indeed the name of the doll and not the girl. But just what exactly is the Revenant then? Is she simply Chloe's soul in Daphne's doll body? Apparently there's a bit more to it than that. Remembrance Journal Entry 8 reads, I grasped the portrait and faced the mirror. The daughter of the house is no more. She will never caress my face again, no matter how I yearn. I never was a human. And now the mantle of doll no longer fits me. There is but one thing that I must accomplish, the very reason I became the Revenant, to bring an end to the night of the storm. And so this, along with Journal Entry 7, both indicate that the Revenant's identity is a bit more complex than simply being the soul of the slain girl trapped in a doll's body. The Revenant has memories and desires that clearly belong to the doll from a time before it was alive, which to me seems to suggest that there was already something special about it even before this incident happened, which has actually led some people in the community to speculate that Chloe's soul isn't even in the doll at all, and that her death was simply an inciting incident for the Revenant becoming alive. But personally, I think that the doll's proximity to Chloe's murder means that Chloe's soul probably played some role in the Revenant gaining life. And further, I think the idea of a Revenant only really makes sense if Chloe's soul has indeed returned from the other side. And then there's also this official description of the Revenant from Bandai Namco's official website, which states, the Revenant is the soul of a lady who manipulates spirits in her quest for revenge. So it does seem that Chloe's soul is at least part of whatever is inhabiting the doll's body. So my thought for now is that the Revenant is some sort of strange amalgam of the doll's will to help the girl in her time of need that was fueled by Chloe's life force as it slipped away as she was murdered. The Revenant does state, I was never human, and now the mantle of doll no longer fits me, which I think well describes that she now inhabits a strange liminal existence between human and doll, neither fully one or the other. But if you guys have any thoughts here, be sure to drop me a comment and let me know. In any case, one thing I can say for certain is that this story of a doll who comes to be inhabited by her former owner has many parallels with a famous Japanese horror incident that blurs the line between fiction and reality. This is the story of Okiku. August 15th, 1918. A teenager named Eikichi Suzuki purchases a doll in Hokkaido for his younger sister, Kikuko. She names the doll Okiku and takes a particular liking to its short Okappa-style bob haircut, cropped just below its ears. Kikuko cherishes this doll and spends all her time with it. Wherever Kikuko went, so did Okiku. But unfortunately, these happy times wouldn't last forever. Kikuko falls gravely ill with pneumonia and passes away, still clutching her precious doll. Following her passing, Kikuko is cremated, Her ashes are placed on the family altar, and beside it, her beloved doll, Okiku. As is tradition, the family continued to burn incense and offer their prayers to the altar every day. But after some months, the family notices something strange. The doll's once short hair is now down to its shoulders. And as the days pass, it continues growing. Having no other explanation, the family come to believe that Kikuko's spirit had transferred into the doll upon her death. Perhaps not knowing what else to do, the family leave the doll in the care of the monks in Mannenji Temple, where till this day they claim to regularly trim the doll's hair that has now reached waist length. And while this story seems a bit hard to believe, what makes it even more interesting is that the temple and the doll actually both do exist, and allow visitors to go and see Okiku in person. While many cultures throughout the world have stories about doll possession, this is by far the most famous and ubiquitous one in Japan. I would say it's sort of akin to urban legends like Bloody Mary, that we tell each other as kids in the States, but this one has some added historicity to spice things up a bit. And unlike many possessed doll stories that involve demonic possession or evil spirits, I want to say this one parallels the story of the Revenant in Nightreign quite well. A child's beloved doll comes to be inhabited by her spirit after her unfortunate and premature demise. Of course, I'm not saying FromSoft simply copy and pasted this story by any means, but I do think that the chance of this serving as a point of inspiration is fairly high. But what do you guys think? Am I reaching here, or can you see the similarities? Are there maybe other stories about doll possession from other cultures that seem to fit the Revenant better? As always, I look forward to hearing your thoughts and insights in the comments. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. It really helps out my channel a lot, and I genuinely appreciate it. And hey, I'd also appreciate it if you considered supporting my work by becoming a patron, a YouTube member, or buying me a coffee. And on that note, I'd like to give a big shout out to Lord's Rune level Patreon supporters, Sheriff and Roman. Thanks a ton for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.